Okay, so I have a Sanyo cassette deck here. It's the model RD5008, and it has I bet it has no line fuse in it for overcurrent protection. So we're going to take the top off it and take a look inside here. And no, it does not have a line fuse in it. So I'm going to look at my plug and make sure it's not polarized, and it's not polarized. So I'm going to just clip one side of the cord here. I'll get my drill here. And I will drill a hole where I'm going to put the block. Hold the wires out of the way so that nothing gets... Okay, so I'll put the camera down. Okay, I'll take a piece of sandpaper and just sand where I'm going to be soldering, just so I get a nice, good flow through there. I'll do the same on the other side. Okay, so I'm going to use my little homemade vise here. Make sure I don't break any strands off. Go in, I'll come around, and I'll make a nice little wrap here. Yeah, I stripped that a little bit short, so I'm going to pull that off. I'll start with a fresh one so I get all my strands in, so I'll strip back a little bit further. There we go. I'll put the wire in through the hole. Make sure all the strands are through. Bring it over this way, and I'll wrap it around nice and tight. I'll twist it, make sure it's nice and tight. Put in my little vise I made here. I'll use some 4060 solder. Tin my iron. Make sure the hole is filled and all the copper is covered. Now let that cool a bit. Now look at the other side. It looks nice and clean on both sides. But I see the hole there a little bit, so I'm going to add a little bit more on this side. Okay, I'll use a little flux here, because I want to get a nice even flow without burning stuff. So I'm going to take a little tiny screwdriver. I'm just going to put a little flux here on this side. And a little flux over here on the other side. And I'll take my iron and I'll tip this up so you can see it, because I'm going to be able to hold my wire as I there it goes. It's a nice clean even flow solder joint now. I'm going to just let that cool. Okay, now we'll do this end. I'll strip this side of the cord here. Put it in through the hole, make sure all the strands go through. And I'll just twist it up nice and tight there. I'll set a little weight on it here so it doesn't move around. And I think I'll go ahead and I'll put some flux on here so I get a good solder joint the first time around. I'll put some flux here. Okay, we got some flux on there. I'll get a little solder on the iron here. I'll take a look at that and see how that looks. Okay, I don't really like how that looks there, so I'm going to take and put a little more flux on here. Okay, I'll put a little more solder on my tip. I had just cleaned it. And I'll pull this out so I have a nice there we go. Now let's let that cool. I'll turn it over and look at the back. Back looks nice and full. Okay, so we gotta get this wire off of the power transformer here. So I'm gonna grab all these strands, make sure I get them all nice and tight. I'm gonna have to tin my iron here a little bit. Grab all those strands, make sure I get all of them. There, got that off. Okay, so I'm going to put this down and underneath here. Bring it up. And that's going to go down here, so I'm going to come over this way. Okay, so I'm going to strip enough off so I have... Now these strands I'm not going to twist together, I'm just going to wrap them around the post here. So I'm going to go like this, go around, come up. I like these flathead pliers because I get a real nice even twist with these. I'll take some flux here and I'll just put some flux on this. And I'll solder it up. Okay, I'm going to show you why I put a line fuse in stereo components that don't have them from the factory. You see the rectifier diodes down here and the power capacitors? If they short out, it can start burning inside the unit and it can overheat the transformer. And if the transformer gets hot enough, it can start overheating this cord, the power cord, and there is a possibility it can melt the cord on the outside and short it out and start a fire in your house. So I'll show you the fuses. Okay, here are two typical household fuses, a 15 amp and a 20 amp. See how large those filaments are inside of it? And here is the fuse that I'm putting in the cassette deck. See how tiny the filament is inside of that? If it shorts out inside the tape deck, we'll burn this very small filament before it burns out the house fuse. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this little block mounted in here. Screw down through here. I have a nut driver for this, but I left it somewhere, so I'm going to just use my pliers. It's slightly crooked. Tap it over a little bit. And I'll just cut the excess off there. Okay, so now I can put the line cord back into this little holder here. And I'll take a zip tie. And I'm going to take and make one nice tie wrap here. So I'm going to cut this existing one off here. Okay, that one's out of there. And we will put all the wires together in one here. So there it is, all done. Now this unit has overcurrent protection in it for fire prevention, and I will give you a close-up view of it here shortly. And there it is, all done.